the medical frontier where death became optional. It started with a quiet anomaly. Patients who should not have survived did, not through miracle cures or last-minute rescues, but because the body itself refused to follow the expected timeline. To understand why this matters now, we need to look at how medicine has always defined death, a fixed boundary. When organs fail, systems shut down, and time runs out. Doctors could delay the inevitable, sometimes dramatically, but the direction was always the same. Decline, then loss. That assumption shaped every medical decision for centuries. The modern world began to strain that model. People lived longer with chronic disease. Technology replaced failing organs. Life support blurred the moment death truly occurred. And inside research labs, scientists noticed something strange. Cells did not always die when they were supposed to. Under the right conditions, shutdown could be reversed. This discovery did not come from human medicine at first. It came from extreme biology. Animals that survived frozen solid. Brains that restarted after hours without oxygen. Tissues that resumed function long after clinical death. These were not anomalies. They were signals. Researchers realized death was not a single event. It was a process, a cascade of failures unfolding over time. Interrupt the cascade early enough, and the outcome could change. Repair damage fast enough, and systems could restart. New techniques emerged. Cellular preservation, targeted cooling, molecular repair that halted decay at the smallest scales. Organs once considered lost could be revived. Patients once declared beyond help returned. The implications were staggering. If death is a process, not a moment, then the boundary medicine has always respected was negotiable. And that raised a question no one was prepared to answer. If death becomes optional in certain moments, who decides when to stop trying? At first, these interventions were rare and experimental. Doctors acted within narrow windows, racing against time to reverse damage before it became irreversible. Cooling slowed decay. New drugs stabilized cells. Machines maintained circulation while repair took place. What mattered was not speed alone, but precision. As techniques improved, those windows widened. Minutes became hours. In some cases, hours stretched longer. Patients once written off were brought back with cognitive function intact. The definition of too late began to shift. The conflict emerged quietly inside hospitals and ethics boards. When revival is possible, every delay becomes a choice. Families struggle with decisions they were never meant to make. Physicians face pressure to intervene longer, push further, try one more technique. Hope became heavier. Researchers noticed another unsettling pattern. The longer the body was stabilized, the more repair it required. Damage accumulated invisibly. Restoring function demanded increasingly invasive intervention. Survival no longer meant recovery. It meant ongoing management. This raised difficult questions. Is extending life the same as restoring it? If a body can be kept functioning indefinitely, what defines quality? The technology was outrunning consensus. Outside medicine, the implications spread. Legal definitions of death fractured. Insurance systems strained. Religious and cultural frameworks collided with new medical realities. Society was built around the assumption that death arrives decisively. That assumption was eroding. The deeper tension was philosophical. Death has always given life urgency. It shaped meaning, risk, and choice. When the boundary becomes flexible, priorities shift. The fear was not immortality. It was limbo. Medicine had opened a door it could not close. Death was no longer an absolute. It was a variable, and humanity was only beginning to understand the cost of adjusting it. The conflict reached its peak when reversibility meant inequality. These life-extending interventions were complex, resource-heavy, and rare. Not everyone could access them. Survival began to depend not only on biology, but on proximity, wealth, and timing. Hospitals faced impossible trade-offs. Resources spent reversing one death could mean denying care to others. Doctors were trained to save lives, not calculate opportunity cost. Yet the math was unavoidable. When death becomes optional, triage becomes moral arithmetic. Another fracture appeared around identity. Patients revived after extended shutdowns were not always the same. Memories blurred, personalities shifted. Cognitive gaps appeared without clear explanation. The body survived, but continuity was altered. Families celebrated survival, while quietly mourning change. Researchers traced this to the brain's vulnerability. Cells could be preserved, but information is delicate. The longer the interruption, the more reconstruction replaced restoration. Survival crossed into reassembly. This forced a reckoning. Medicine could delay death, but it could not guarantee selfhood. The person who returned was shaped by what was lost, not just what was saved. Public debate intensified. Some argued that any extension of life was worth the risk. Others warned that survival without continuity undermined what made life meaningful. Laws struggled to keep up. Consent became murky when decisions had to be made under crisis. The emotional peak arrived when clinicians faced cases where revival was technically possible, but the outcome uncertain. Survival might mean years of dependence, or a life fundamentally altered. Choosing not to intervene felt like abandonment. Choosing to intervene felt like rewriting someone without permission. Death had once been a boundary that simplified these decisions. Now that boundary was dissolving, and with it, medicine inherited a burden it had never been designed to carry. The resolution came not through conquest of death, but through boundaries. Medicine learned that making death optional did not mean making it irrelevant. The goal shifted from indefinite reversal to informed restraint. Protocols emerged to define when intervention served recovery and when it prolonged uncertainty. Preservation was paired with evaluation, repair with reassessment. Doctors were trained not only in how to save lives, but when saving no longer meant healing. The science matured. Techniques became gentler, more precise. Focus moved upstream, preventing the cascade of failure before reversal was needed. Slowing damage proved more humane than undoing it later. The frontier narrowed from resurrection to resilience. Society adjusted as well. Laws evolved. Consent frameworks expanded. Conversations once avoided became necessary. Death regained definition, not as a fixed moment, but as a choice guided by values rather than capability alone. The deepest shift was personal. Life felt sharper again, not because it could be extended, but because extension was no longer automatic. Survival reclaimed its meaning when it was balanced with continuity, dignity, and intent. The medical frontier, where death became optional, revealed a truth older than science. Power over life demands wisdom equal to its reach. Without it, survival becomes a hollow victory. Medicine did not defeat death. It learned how to listen to it. Subscribe to join the journey.